Shush.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Krantz. I'm going to be your host for the next half hour or so as we talk about Thespis. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. This is part of Sinfonifest, the unique performance that Sinfonicron is putting on for this year because of the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Speaking of those circumstances, I am indebted to the Thomas Nelson Community College Performing Arts Department for this graphic, which shows our heroes not socially distanced but appropriately masked for the occasion. So let's open the curtain on the lecture. I am a retired judge, a William & Mary Law School graduate, and a proud Sinfonicron alum. I performed in every Sinfonicron show when I was a law student, and since then have been a fan of and performer in Gilbert and Sullivan shows all my life. And I am very proud to finally, after years as an audience member, after more than 40 years, to be once again participating in a Sinfonicron show. We're going to be doing a read-through later this evening. The company will be doing Thespis, or the Gods Grown Old. This is going to be a non-musical performance because we don't have the music for Thespis. Now, I'm going to start with a bit of a disclaimer. I no longer practice law, but I like to keep things on the up and up, so if you'll bear with me. The views expressed in this lecture are those of the speaker and do not necessarily represent the views of Sinfonicron Light Opera, the College of William & Mary, or any other person or organization. Void where prohibited. Actual mileage may vary. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Ken Krantz, and I approve this message. Now that the formalities are out of the way, let's get into the subject matter, starting with the players in the drama. Sir Arthur Sullivan, the composer, Sir William Gilbert, the librettist, and the vitally important third member of the partnership, the business manager, Richard Doyley Cart, man who founded the opera company that performed Gilbert and Sullivan under his family's management for more than 100 years. Vitally important member, but not involved in the production of Thespis. Thespis was a completely different arrangement, but Doyley Cart, although he was not involved in the production, saw something there, and 4 years after Thespis, he needed a one-act curtain raiser for a show that he was putting on, and he recruited Gilbert and Sullivan to get together again to produce a one-act. Gilbert had a libretto he had been kicking around and had on hand. He read it to Sullivan, who loved it, and set it to music, and it became Trial by Jury. We'll review briefly the Gilbert and Sullivan canon. The number in parentheses is the number of performances of the first London run of each opera. As you can see, Thespis ran a very measly, by later standards, 63 performances. But 63 performances in 1871 was a very respectable showing. This was a period when shows would be designed for a brief run. Thespis was for the Christmas season, beginning the day after Christmas in 1871, and it outran any of the other Christmas shows of that season. So the long runs that we associate with Gilbert and Sullivan were an artifact of their later career. So 4 years after Thespis, during which they did other things, they wrote shows with other collaborators and they did other things. Gilbert wrote humorous magazine articles. Sullivan composed serious music. They had their other activities and interests going on. They got together for Trial by Jury, which had a much longer run, and then The Sorcerer, and then, of course, the game changer, HMS Pinafore, which really put them on the map. Then the second half of their collaboration also featured some very long runs. As you can see from these dates, they pretty much owned the 1880s on the London stage. After the Gondoliers, they had some quarrels, they broke up. They got together for two more operas, Utopia Limited and The Grand Duke, which are seldom performed, although Sinfonicron did a very interesting production of The Grand Duke a few years ago. But when people speak of the Gilbert and Sullivan standard repertory, they're generally talking about the 11 operas from Trial by Jury to The Gondoliers. Now, when I began looking into Gilbert and Sullivan shows as a young undergraduate, I discovered that there was this show called Thespis that was lost. The music was never published. So we have the libretto, we have the lyrics, and we have the spoken dialogue, but no music, with a couple of exceptions that I'll mention later. So, this is known as the Lost Opera. On hearing that, I had a reaction. How could it be lost? How could a Gilbert and Sullivan opera not have been published? It's ridiculous, right? It's not like finding some Bach manuscript in somebody's attic in Germany 200 years after the fact. This was 19th century London, where music publishing was a mature industry, so why was Thespis never published? How did it get to be lost? The answer, I think, is that the world we live in, the world in which it would be unthinkable for a Gilbert and Sullivan work not to have been published, is a world they created with their later success, and they hadn't created it yet. In 1871, they weren't Gilbert and Sullivan as we know them. One of them was Gilbert, the other was Sullivan, but they were not the kings of the London stage that they would be a decade later. They were two very talented, promising young talents. Sullivan wasn't yet 30 at the time of Thespis. And the stage was a very different set environment then. It was more like the early 20th century Broadway musicals than modern Broadway musicals. Shows would be put together on short notice, run for a few weeks or in rare cases months, and then something else would come along, and collaborators would work with a different collaborator for one show, move on to another, and often they would recycle the music, as was done in one case with Thespis, as we'll see. So, in short, Thespis was lost because it wasn't a Gilbert and Sullivan opera as we think of that, as we know it from their later spectacularly successful works. So, Thespis opened the day after Christmas, 1871, at the Gaiety Theater, managed by Mr. John Hollingshed. There's Mr. Hollingshed on the right. And as I said, it was a success by the standards of the period. The plot of Thespis, I don't want to give too many spoilers because you're going to be seeing it after I finish, involves the Olympian gods hanging out on Mount Olympus. They have grown old, they have grown weary, they have grown tired, they have grown out of touch with what humanity is all about. So the sacrifices have tailed off and the worship just isn't there like it used to be. And they are wondering what to do when along comes a troupe of actors who have come up to Mount Olympus for a picnic. The actors suggest to the gods that maybe the gods should go down to Earth, mingle incognito with humans, and get a sense of humanity's current attitudes, develop more of a rapport like they had in the old days. The gods think this is a terrific idea, but problem, who's going to manage the universe while the gods are down on Earth? The actors volunteer to cover for them, and it all works out beautifully. Nothing much goes wrong. No, of course, I'm kidding. We wouldn't have a play if nothing went wrong. Things go spectacularly wrong. Spoiler alert. And so that's Act 2. This is a drawing of a rehearsal of Thespis. I really like this because of the snapshot it gives us of the Victorian theater scene. Here in the rehearsal, there's a theater cat wandering around on stage. There's the actors rehearsing the scene, the management at a table, as you'll see in rehearsals nowadays, although nowadays the table is more typically set up in the auditorium than on the stage. And down here there's random sheets of music, if those had the music written on them, wouldn't we like to get those today? But we don't. And here, also on the stage observing, is Mr. Gilbert, the playwright. He did not just send in a script and walk away. He was very active in the direction of all of his works. During his later association with Sullivan and D'Oyly Carte, he was the stage director as well as the author of each show. And then this T-shaped object is a lighting instrument to light the rehearsal. These little glowing things along the top edge, those are open flames. Theaters were lit by gas in those days, both for rehearsal and for performance. So if you've ever wondered why the classic example of abuse of free speech is to shout fire falsely in a crowded theater, one reason is that in those days there were fires in crowded theaters. The theaters were lit by fire, and it was a constant danger. So here's a late Victorian lighting instrument. So here are the gods represented in the cast, known by their familiar Roman names. And then the rest of the cast are the theater company. Thespis is the leader of the company, the manager of the troupe. Sullivan is his stage manager. The others are actors, and as you can see, the names are pseudo-Greek or Roman names, but they are really variations of English words suggesting the nature of each character. As to the setting, the temple has fallen into ruins in Act 1. In Act 2, no matter what else they get wrong, the actors have managed to repair the ruins of the temple. As for the time, it's ambiguous. There are basically two approaches to when to set Thespis, and of course there's virtually no performance tradition associated with it. You can set it in ancient Greece or modern Greece, modern being 19th century, of course. I suppose you could set it in the 21st century as far as that goes. Neither way is strictly logically consistent. There are anachronisms either way you do it. The question really comes down to how you're going to costume the people playing the actors, whether in togas and tunics or in modern dress. But there are anachronisms either way. For example, the character of Thespis is clearly meant to be associated with the historical first actor of the Athenian stage, the father of drama. And in Act 2, Thespis refers to himself as the father of drama. So that would tend to argue for an ancient setting, but the libretto is full of references to things that either didn't exist in ancient Greece, like the city of London or Christmas, or to things that did exist but were unknown to the ancient Greeks, like the continent of Australia. So there is no right way to do this. The anachronisms are part of the joke, and they'll work however you costume it and however you set it. Sort of like movies like Woody Allen's Love and Death or Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddles that have 19th century settings but are full of conscious anachronisms. The anachronisms are part of the fun. So we've got this premise in which random humans receive divine power as a plot device. You may remember the 2003 film Bruce Almighty, in which Bruce, played by Jim Carrey, is granted divine powers by God, played by Morgan Freeman, because of course who else could do justice to the role, and hilarity ensues from the resulting incompetence. So whether in the 19th century or the 21st, this is a premise rife with comic possibilities. As a sidelight, the one god in the cast who does not grow old is Mercury, the god of thieves. I don't know why thieves rate a god of their own. They seem to be doing all right without one, but that was one of Mercury's jobs. And he is what's known in folklore terms as a trickster god, of the sort that is found in the cultures of many nations. And as a trickster god, he's not necessarily a social outcast, but not quite as respectable as the other gods. And as I said, Mercury is portrayed as a young god, unlike the others in the cast list. Now, the idea of a trickster god not being subject to the aging process was current at the time. Richard Wagner's Das Rheingold, the first of the 4 operas in the Ring of the Nibelung cycle, had premiered 2 years earlier. The full ring was still a work in progress. And there is a scene there in which Loge, the god of fire, is also a bit of a trickster. And there's a scene in which the Norse gods, being deprived of the magic apples that confer immortality on them, begin to grow old. Loge mentioned that since the gods never gave him as many of the apples as they kept for themselves, he is less subject to the process. So this idea of a trickster god who isn't subject to the aging process like the other gods was sort of out there. Did that have an influence on this plot device in Thespis? Possibly. It's pure speculation, but it's certainly a possibility. Loge, incidentally, is the German spelling and pronunciation of our old friend Loki, god of mischief in Scandinavian mythology, who we all know from the Avengers movie. Just like, I don't know why thieves get their own god in the Greek pantheon, I don't know why mischief needs a god of its own. Seems to be enough of it all, even without his intervention, but there it is. Now, as I said, this connection between the ring and Thespis is speculative. One thing that is not speculative with regard to the casting of Mercury is who was intended to play the role. Ellen Nellie Farren, who was in her mid-20s at the time, was a very popular performer at the Gaiety Theater. And you may recall from Shakespeare in Love or from your high school English class that women were not allowed to perform on stage in Elizabethan theater, so that all of Shakespeare's women characters were played by men or boys. By the Victorian era, women could play women's roles. Women could even play men's roles if they had an attractive pair of legs. This is a poster from another show from about the same period of Ms. Farren. And here is an illustration of a scene from Thespis. Ms. Farren's title in the company was Principal Boy. There's a close-up of her in that Thespis scene from the last slide. So her job was to play young male parts with short skirts or pants and tights. So much progress in the 300 years since Shakespeare had been made, you see. Gilbert, in later life, expressed strong disapproval of the practice of casting women in men's roles. He never wrote another part for a woman playing a man in any of his later collaborations with Sullivan. And he disapproved of it. It was as sort of a cheap stunt to appeal to a certain interest that he found distasteful. Now, I don't know whether he had those scruples at the time of Thespis. Even if he had, he was writing for a company that had a set cast. The same actors were intended to play the same roles in every production. So he did not have the freedom of action that he would have when he came to the dominant position that he would have later in his collaborations with Sullivan and D'Oyly Carte. So Ms. Farren was the principal boy, and she played Mercury as a young god with a short skirt and a pair of tights. The other interesting casting item from Thespis involves the role of Apollo. Apollo was played by Frederick Sullivan, the brother of the composer. He went on to play the judge in Trial by Jury. That's him in costume and from Trial by Jury. If he had lived, he would presumably have played most of the patter baritone roles that are associated with his brother's operas. Sir Joseph Porter in HMS Pinafore, Major General Stanley in Pirates of Penzance, Coco in The Mikado, etc. Of course, he did not live that long. As you can see, he died shortly after Trial by Jury. Fred Sullivan began his professional life as an architect. When he switched to becoming an actor, he said, I still draw large houses, which is a sort of classic dad joke. And he certainly had a right to make dad jokes. At the time of his death at age 39, he left a widow with 7 children, and one more on the way. In mourning at his brother's death, Sullivan wrote one of his most famous non-Gilbert pieces, the melancholy ballad, The Lost Chord. Now, Mrs. Sullivan, his widow, immigrated to the U.S., and not just to the U.S., but to the Wild West, remote place, middle of nowhere, really, little town called Los Angeles, California. Sir Arthur, throughout his life, he had no wife or children of his own, and he generously supported his sister-in-law and her family throughout his life. Now, the story of the Sullivan family in the performing arts does not end with the two brothers, the actor and the composer. One of Fred Sullivan's sons, also named Frederick, growing up as he did in Los Angeles, became part of the infant film industry in the 20th century. There he is. As you can see, looks rather like his uncle. He's working the monocle, has the hair parted in the middle, the mustache. And Fred Sullivan was an actor and director in the silent era. His career extended into the early talkie era. If you look him up online, you'll find his credits include a whole bunch of silent films you've probably never heard of. I certainly hadn't. But also one authentic hit classic from the talkie era. In the courtroom scene in Duck Soup, Frederick Sullivan Jr. plays one of the judges. So this gentleman here, seated behind Groucho Marx, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the nephew of Sir Arthur Sullivan. And I barely have words to express how cool I think that is. I mentioned that most of the music was lost. There are exceptions. The ballad Little Maid of Arcady was published as sheet music separately. The chorus Climbing Over Rocky Mountain was recycled into the Pirates of Penzance with slight revisions to the lyrics, which we'll talk about. And then the ballet music from Act 2 was discovered in the 1980s in manuscript and has been recorded. So this is all of the music from Thespis that's available. Productions of it that strive to do it as a musical have basically two approaches. One is to compose your own music and try as best you can to match Sullivan's style and the spirit of his music. The other involves research into Sullivan's music, including his non-Gilbert works. People have gone through and tried to match the meter of the lyrics to pieces of Sullivan's music and to make it a more truly Gilbert and Sullivan piece. As I said, Sinfonicron is doing it as a prose play without music, but those are two approaches in the rare occasions when it has been produced as a musical. Now, I had planned to play these clips. Last night there was a glitch associated with Professor Lee's lecture in which, when she played a video clip, it was tagged by YouTube as having some kind of problem, and a lot of people were dropped out and had to rejoin, and it was kind of a mess. So to be on the safe side, I'm not going to play the clips. If you want, you can screenshot this slide and engage in the unbelievably tedious task of transcribing those sites, or I believe it's going to be on, these links are going to be on Sinfonicron's web page. And you can also just type the things like Thespis Little Maid of Arcady into the search bar in YouTube and get to these. So we will not be playing the clips in an abundance of caution. We lawyers are big fans of abundances of caution. So I'll go through the next few slides without playing the music. This is Little Maid of Arcady. This is, of course, a production that opted for the modern dress approach to Thespis.
I'll sing it to you.
This is the ballet music that was on a doily cart CD. And this is from a British television 1982 version of Pirates of Penzance, in which they play Climbing Over Rocky Mountain. Now, Climbing Over Rocky Mountain, of course, is by far the most famous of the surviving Thespis pieces because of its reuse in Pirates. And there are some differences in the lyrics. Some of them are driven by the change in setting and the change in casting. In Thespis, it's the mixed chorus that arrives in Act 1 when the actors climb Mount Olympus. In Pirates, it's the ladies' chorus arriving at the beach where the pirates have just left. So there's reference to lads and lasses in one and not in the other, and mountaintop versus seashore. These last two parallel lines, in Pirates, one of the solo verses sings, "We'll be queens and make decrees, they may honor them who please." That's about as much imitation of a soprano as I ever do, so I'll just leave it at that. Of course, in that context, that's just sort of a silly little throwaway line. The girls are out picnicking and they have this little whimsical idea. But you look over at the corresponding line in Thespis, there, in that context, it foreshadows the key plot of the show. Another item in connection with the lyrics in Pirates, reference to summer rain, daisies being in bloom. And just as a reminder, Pirates opens in southwestern England in February. Now, a little tip for next time you go see Pirates, if you're going with friends who had the misfortune not to hear my lecture tonight, you can bring this up at intermission or when you're walking out to your car after the show. Say something like, you notice that reference to summer and to spring flowers in that women's chorus? And then you can explain about Thespis and how the song was transplanted into Pirates, and that's the reason for that apparent anomaly on the seasons. And your friends will be tremendously impressed with your erudition and attention to detail. You're welcome. Final thought on Thespis as we draw to a close. I'm going to quote Sullivan from Act 2. Whatever else you say about Thespis, nobody has ever or will ever accuse it of being too realistic. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of Sinfonifest. And now, pause for dramatic effect, Thespis.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Ken. It really blows me away every time I see it. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Matalone, and I'm director of Thespis, and I just wanted to formally welcome you all here to the second night of Sinfonifest, our read-through of Thespis. At the start of this process, our goal is to bring our audience to the closest possible semblance to a live theater performance over Zoom that we could, but unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, we were unable to achieve our goal of bringing you a truly live performance. But make no mistake, although this performance is pre-recorded, it was pre-recorded live. In these recordings, we have made no edits or no attempts to hide the technical glitches that are seemingly inevitable over Zoom. These are our actors reacting to their circumstances in real time. We hope this gives you both a peek into the limits of this technology and the resilience of our actors to work through these less conducive circumstances. I just want to say I have an incredible admiration for this cast. There have been several points in this process where our creative team has had to drop everything and start from scratch simply because this is such a new frontier for us all. These performers have stuck with us through thick and thin, never failing to bring their energy and enthusiasm to our rehearsals and recordings. At the end of the show, we give y'all the space to clap for them, and I encourage you to do so from your homes because although they won't get it in person, they deserve it. Thank you again for being with us tonight, and without further ado, here's Thespis.
How cold the nights are. I don't know how it is, but I seem to be feeling the night air a great deal more than I used to. But it is time for the sun to be rising. Apollo!
Hello?
I've come off duty. It's time for you to be getting up.
I shan't go out today. I was out yesterday and the day before, and I want a little rest. I don't know how it is, but I seem to feel my work a great deal more than I used to.
I'm sure these short days can't hurt you. Why? You don't rise till 6, and you're in bed again by 5. You should have a turn at my work and see how you like that out all night.
My dear friend, I don't envy you. Though I remember when I did. But that was when I was a younger son. I don't think I'm quite well. Perhaps a little change of air will do me good. I have a great mind to show myself in London this winter. They'll be very glad to see me. No, I shan't go out today. I shall send them this fine, thick, wholesome fog, and they won't miss me. It's the best substitute for a blazing sun, and like most substitutes, nothing at all like the real thing. No. Off with you.
Home at last! A nice time I've had of it.
Why, you young scamp! You've been down all night again. This is the 3rd time you've been out this week.
Well, you're a nice one to blow me up for that.
I can't help being out all night.
And I can't help being down all night. The nature of Mercury requires that she should go down when the sun goes down and rise again when the sun rises.
And what have you been doing?
Stealing on commission. There's a set of false teeth and a box of life pills. That's for Jupiter. Some scrolls from Jason Roganus.
Oh.
That's for Apollo. Some knives for Mars. And a newborn kitten. That's for, wait. That's for you? God, do you have any idea how hard it is to carry a kitten up a mountain?
Oh, so you're the new delivery service. I ordered a ride weeks ago. Oh, absolutely terrible service up here. But stealing? Don't you have something else to do?
Oh, as the god of thieves, I must do something to justify my position.
Ha.
Your position!
Now that you gods are too old for your work, Jupiter has made me the miserable drudge of Olympus. Groom, valet, postman, butler, commissionaire, maid of all work, parish beadle, oh, and original dustman.
Your Christmas boxes ought to be something considerable.
They ought to be, but they're not. I'm treated abominably. I make everybody, and I'm nobody. I go everywhere, and I'm nowhere. I do everything, and I'm nothing. I've made thunder for Jupiter. Oh, it's for Apollo. Battles for Mars! And love for Venus. I've married couples for Hymen, and 6 weeks later, I've divorced them for Cupid. And in return, I get all the kicks while they pocket the halfpence. And in return, compensation for robbing me of the halfpence in question. What has Jupiter done for me?
Why, he's made you the god of thieves.
Very self-denying of him. There isn't one of you who hasn't a better claim to the distinction than I have.
Ooh, I would quiet your mouth, dearie. The old man is bound to arrive any second now.
Good day, Diana. Apollo. Well, what's the matter? What's the matter?
Well, that young scamp, Mercury, says that we do nothing and leave all the duties of Olympus to she.
Yeah.
Will you believe it? She actually says that our influence on Earth is dropping to nil.
Well. Don't be too hard on the lass. For once in her life, I'm not sure she's very far off. Don't let it go any further, but between ourselves, the sacrifices and votive offerings have fallen off terribly of late. Why, I can remember a time when they offered us human sacrifices. No mistake about it. Human sacrifices. Think of that.
Oh, those good old days.
Then it fell off to hogs and pigs and sheep.
Well, there are worse things than oxen, pigs, and sheep.
So I found to my cost. My dear sir, between ourselves, it's dropped off from one thing to another until it has positively dwindled down to preserved Australian beef. What do you think of that?
Well, I don't like it at all.
You won't mention it. It might go further.
Oh, it couldn't fare worse.
In short, matters have come to such a crisis that there's no mistake about it. Something must be done to restore our influence. The only question is, what?
Mortals up the mount are swarming, our temple on Olympus storming!
Mars! We lost the score. Do not even attempt to sing it. What is happening?
Oh, mortals are climbing up the mountain. Like hundreds of them.
What?
What?
They cannot look at me. I'm hideous and wrinkled.
We must stop them from seeing us in this state. But how?
Jupiter, hit them with your thunderbolt!
My thunderbolts, while valid at a distance, are not effective at the range of 100 yards.
Diana, strike them with your moonbeam.
My lunar rays, unhappily, are mighty only at a many 100,000 miles!
Can't any one of you attack at close range?
I mean, I have a knife.
Go!
All right, people. Places. We shan't eat a morsel until rehearsal is done. Sparkyon. Nice, miss. You know the scene. Yes. Well, come now. Let us begin. Sparkyon, your line.
Here we are at last on the very summit, and we've left the others ever so far behind. Why, what's this?
A ruined palace. A palace on the top of a mountain. I wonder who lives here. Some mighty king, I dare say, with wealth beyond all counting, who came to live up here.
To avoid his creditors. It's a lovely situation for a country house, though it's very much out of repair.
Very inconvenient situation.
Inconvenient?
Yes! How are you to get butter, milk, and eggs up here? No pigs, no poultry, no postman. Why, I should go mad.
What a dear little practical mind it is. What a wife you will make.
Don't be too sure. We are only partly married. The marriage ceremony lasts all day.
I've no doubt at all about it. We shall be as happy as a king and queen, though we are only a strolling actor and actress.
It is very kind of Thespis to celebrate our marriage day by giving the company a picnic on this lovely mountain.
And still more kind to allow us to get so much ahead of all the others. Discreet Thespis.
Get away, do! Remember, the marriage ceremony is not yet completed.
But it would be ungrateful to Thespis' discretion not to take advantage of it by improving the opportunity.
Certainly not. Get away.
On second thoughts, the opportunity's so good.
No, I mean certainly not. What the hell is this script, Sullivan? What are we doing here?
What? How dare you question the writing of the great Thespis?
Why does this read like Thespis has never met a woman?
How many times do I need to tell you, nice Miss, Thespis' power is universal. While you may not see it, anyone with a brain immediately connects to the struggle of her characters. This script is a classic.
A classic? Drama has only existed in Greece for 20 years. The only reason anything is a classic is it's because it's all we've been able to perform.
Very well, nice Miss. If you won't say the lines, I know who will.
Who will?
Daphne will.
Daphne! That poor new girl!
He is quite as pretty as you.
Because clearly that's all you care about.
He performed your roles for 6 months while you were off writing your little passion project.
I suppose you mean the play I wrote. Very well, break it off if you like. I shall not offer any objection. I'd just as soon be my own writer than some fifth-rate director's.
You and I both know that fifth-rate director is the reason you're famous, love. But I'm sure your own play will afford you your beach house and thousands of fans. Yes?
Bless you, my people, bless you. Let the revels commence. After all, for thorough, unconstrained, unconventional enjoyment, give me a picnic.
Give her a picnic, somebody!
Be quiet, Sullivan. Don't interrupt.
Yes, Aunt.
Now, the best of a picnic is that everybody contributes what they please and nobody knows what anybody else has brought to the last moment. Now unpack, everybody, and let's see what there is for everybody.
I have brought you a bottle of soda water for the claret cup.
I have brought you lettuce for the lobster salad.
A piece of ice for the claret cup.
A bottle of vinegar for the lobster salad.
A bunch of barrage, I don't know, for the claret cup, and a hard-boiled egg for the lobster salad.
Lump of sugar for the claret cup.
He just brought 1 lump of sugar for the claret cup.
Well, Sullivan, what have you brought?
Well, I have brought 2 lumps of the very best salt for the lobster salad.
Oh, is that all?
All?
But I say, this is capital, so far as it goes. Nothing could be better, but it doesn't go far enough. The claret, for instance. I don't insist on claret or a lobster. I don't insist on lobster, but a lobster salad without a lobster, why, it isn't lobster salad. Here, tipsy on. Hello, good sir. Tipsy on, where's the claret? We arranged last week that you were to see to that.
True, good sir, but then I was a drunkard.
You were.
You engaged me to play convivial parts on the strength of my personal appearance.
I did.
Then you found
and my habits interfered with my duties as low comedian.
True.
You said yesterday that unless I took the pledge, you would dismiss me from your company.
Quite so.
Good. I have taken it. It is all I have taken since yesterday. My preserver.
Yes, but where's the wine?
I left it behind, that I might not be tempted to violate my pledge.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't this
Since Vesuvius
Come
erupted.
now. Still go and enjoy yourselves. Ha! Ha! It is well for those who can laugh. Let them do so. There is no extra charge. The light-hearted cup and the convivial jest for them. But for me, what is there for me?
There is some claret cup and lobster salad.
Thank you. What is there for me but anxiety? Ceaseless, gnawing anxiety that tears at my very vitals and rends my peace of mind asunder. There is nothing whatever for me but the anxiety of the nature I have just described. The charge of these thoughtless revelers is my unhappy lot. It is not a small charge, and it is rightly termed a lot, because they are many. Oh, why did the gods make me a manager?
Why did the gods make her 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 a manager?
No, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Got it. Don't tell us.
No.
It has to
When
be.
you
I
look at
think
the
it's
definite
ironic.
article in the
This is
So
a
incompetent.
conundrum. It's a misanthropical question. Why cannot I join you?
I'm sure I don't know. We do not want you not to. Don't distress yourself on our account. We are getting on very comfortably.
Well said, dearie. Cheers to Thespis.
We have nothing to drink, Sullivan.
Well, that's not stopping Daphne, is it?
It's very hard. As a woman, I'm naturally of an easy disposition. As a manager, I am compelled to hold myself aloof, that my influence may not be deteriorated. As a woman, I'm inclined to fraternize with the pauper. As a manager, I am compelled to walk around like this. Don't know ya. Don't know ya. I don't know ya.
Presumptuous mortal!
Don't know ya. Don't know ya.
Presumptuous mortal!
I do not know you. I do not know you.
Presumptuous mortal!
Remove this person.
Stop! Evidently you don't know me. Allow me to offer you my card.
Oh, yes, it's very pretty. But we don't want any at present. When we do our Christmas piece, I'll let you know. Look here. You know, this is a private party, and we haven't the pleasure of your acquaintance. There are a good many other mountains about, if you must have a mountain all to yourself. Don't make me let myself down before my company. Don't know ya. Don't know ya.
I am Jupiter, the king of the gods. This is Apollo. This is Diana. And this is Mars.
Oh. Then as I'm a respectable woman, and rather particular about the company I keep, I think I'll go.
No. Stop a bit. We want to consult you on a matter of great importance.
I can give you 5 minutes.
No matter, it will suffice.
I have been invited to confer with the brother manager. As our discussion is not for the ears of the wheep-holy, I should be very much obliged if you would withdraw to a respectable distance.
Hello, May. Shoo! Go on. Get out of here. Go on. Skedaddle. Go. There. Now we are alone. Who are you?
I am Thespis of the Thessalian theaters.
Ah, the very woman we want. Now, as a judge of what the public likes, are you impressed with my performance as Father of the Gods?
Well, to be candid with you, I am not. In fact, I'm disappointed.
Disappointed?
Yes, you see, you're so much out of repair. No, you don't come up to my idea of the part. Bless you, I played you often.
You have?
Oh, be sure I have.
And how have you dressed the part?
A fine, commanding party in the prime of life. Thunderbolt, full beard, dignified manner. A good deal of this sort of thing. Don't know ya. Don't know ya. Don't know ya.
I'm very much obliged to you. It's very good of you. I used to be like that. I can't tell you how much I feel it. And do you find I'm an impressive character to play?
Well, no, I can't say you are. In fact, we don't use you much out of light opera.
Light opera?
Yes, it's a painful subject. Drop it. Drop it. The fact is, you are not the gods you were.
What are we to do? We feel that we ought to do something, but we don't know what.
Why don't you all go down to Earth, incog, mingle with the world, hear and see what the people think of you, and judge for yourselves as to the best means to take to restore your influence.
But what's to become of Olympus in the meantime?
Lord bless you, don't distress yourself about that. I've a very good company, used to taking long parts on the shortest notice. Invest us with your powers, and we'll fill your places till you return.
Well, the offer is tempting. But what if you fail? Yes.
Fail? Oh, we never fail in our profession. We've nothing but great successes.
Then it's a bargain.
It's a bargain.
And that you might not be entirely without assistance, we will leave you Mercury. And whenever you find yourself in a difficulty, you can consult her.
What?
Now, blast, this Thespis seems like a reasonable fellow. What's the worst that can happen?
Yes! Oh, this is delightful.
Now this is the life.
Yes! So glad we decided to do this.
Of course.
Yes.
Bless their little hearts, I can refuse them nothing. Do their duty, but I can't. Pretty little craft come sailing up to me, my back on them. I'm all bow.
You certainly are a dear old thing.
Oh, Deputy Venus says I'm a dear old thing. Who could be severe with such deputy divinities?
Do you know, I'm going to ask you a favor.
Venus is going to ask me a favor?
Yes, well, you see, I am Venus.
No one who saw your face would doubt it.
Well, Venus, as you know, is married to Mars.
To Vulcan, my dear, to Vulcan. Well, the exact connubial relation of the different gods and goddesses is a point on which we must be extremely particular.
I beg your pardon. Venus is married to Mars.
Then that decides it. Call it married to Mars.
Married to Vulcan or married to Mars, what does it signify?
My dear, it's a matter on which I have no personal feelings whatsoever.
So that she is married to someone.
Exactly, so that she is married to someone. Call it married to Mars.
Oh. Now, here's my difficulty. Timidon takes the place of Mars, and Timidon is my father.
Then why object to Vulcan?
Oh, well, you see, Vulcan is my grandfather.
But my dear, what an objection! You are playing a part till the real gods return, that's all. Whether you are supposed to be married to your father or your grandfather, what does it matter? This passion for realism is the curse of the stage.
That's all very well, but I can't throw myself into a part that has already lasted a 12-month when I have to make love. When I have to make love. When I have to make love to my father. It interferes with my conception of the characters. It spoils the part.
Well, I'll see what can be done. That's always the way with beginners. They've no imaginative power. A true artist ought to be superior to such considerations. Well, nice miss. I should say, Diana. What's the matter with you? Don't you like your part?
Are you kidding? It's awful.
Well, don't you like being out by yourself all night alone? You certainly don't seem to enjoy our company.
Oh, but I'm not alone all night.
But I don't want to ask any injudicious questions. But who accompanies you?
Who? Why, Sparkion, of course.
Sparkion? But Sparkion is Phoebus Apollo.
Apollo?
He's the sun, you know.
Of course he is. We ought to never cross paths, but he insists that I should catch my death of cold in the night air if he didn't accompany me.
Well, my dear Sullivan, it would never do for a young lady to be out alone all night. It wouldn't be respectable.
There's a good deal of truth in that. But still, the sun at night, I don't like the idea. The original Diana always went out alone.
Why don't you tell that to Thespis? I have repeatedly brought these concerns to her, but it seems Thespis would hope that the original Diana would be no rule for me. After all, what does it matter? If Thespis says it works, we shan't question it.
Well, if that is what Thespis says, then what does it matter?
The sun at night or in the daytime?
So that he shines. That's all that's necessary. Now run along. Mercury, my girl! Ah! You've had a year's experience of us here. How do we do it? I think we're rather an improvement on the original gods, don't you?
Well, you see, there's a good deal to be said on both sides of the question, right? You are certainly younger than the original gods and therefore more active. On the other hand, they are certainly older than you and therefore have more experience, yeah. On the whole, I prefer you because your mistakes amuse me.
Amuse you? Why, does the greatness of Thespis merely amuse you?
Wait. You seriously believe all that junk? Sullivan, all I've seen Thespis make you do over the last year is force you to get her coffee and do her laundry. I mean, you can't actually believe she's all that great?
Silly lass. I am merely following the most classical form of theatrical training there is. The Thespis method. I am being groomed to take over the company, you know.
You know, you remind me of myself when I was a younger god. Come back to me after a couple of centuries without getting so much as a word in, and you'll be changing your tone, darling.
Oh, this thing's awful. No, absolutely not. Sullivan, you can retire.
Oh, but madam,
Don't pretend you can't when I say you can. I've seen you do it. Go! Good help. So hard to find these days. Well, Mercury, I've been in power 1 year today.
1 year today. How do you like ruling the world?
Like it? Why, it's as straightforward as possible. Well, there hasn't been a hitch of any kind since we came up here. Lore, the airs you gods and goddesses give yourselves are perfectly sickening. Why, it's mere child's play.
Very simple, isn't it?
Simple? Why, I could do it on my head.
I dare say you will do it on your head very soon.
By that, Mercury?
I mean that when you've turned the world quite topsy-turvy, you won't know whether you're standing on your head or your heels!
Well, but Mercury, it's all right at present.
Oh, yes. As far as we know.
Well, but you know, we know as much as anybody knows. You know, I believe, that the world's still going on.
Oh, yes. As far as we can judge. Much as usual.
Well, then give the father of drama her due, Mercury. Don't be envious of the father of drama.
Well, but you see, you leave so much to accident.
Well, but Mercury, if I do, it's my principle. I am an easy woman, and I like to make things as pleasant as possible. What did I say the day we took office? Why, I called the company together and I said to them, here we are. You know, gods and goddesses, no mistake about it, the real thing. Well, we have certain duties to discharge. Let's discharge them intelligently. Don't let us be hampered by routine and red tape and precedent. Let's set the original gods an example and put a liberal interpretation on our duties. If it occurs to anyone to try an experiment in his own department, let him try it. If he fails, there's no harm done. If he succeeds, it's a distinct gain to society. Take it easy, I said. And at the same time, make experiments. Don't hurry your work, do it slowly and do it well. And here we are, after a 12-month, and not a single complaint or a single petition has reached me.
No. Not yet.
What do you mean by no? Not yet?
Well, you see, you don't understand these things, okay? All the petitions that are addressed by men to Jupiter pass through my hands, and it is my job to collect them and present them once a year.
Oh. Only once a year?
Only once a year.
And that year is,
Today. Yeah.
Oh, then I suppose there are some complaints.
Ah, yes, there are some.
Oh. Perhaps there are a good many.
There are a good many.
Oh. Perhaps there are a thundering lot?
There are a thundering lot!
Oh!
You see, you've been taking it so very easy.
No!
And so have most of your company.
Who's been taking it easy?
Well, all those except the ones trying experiments.
Well, but I suppose the experiments are ingenious.
Oh, yes! Oh, they are ingenious, but on the whole, ill-judged. But it's time to go and summon your court.
What for?
To hear the complaints! In 5 minutes, they will be here.
I don't know how it is, but there is something in that young woman's manner that suggests the father of the gods has been taking it too easy. Perhaps it would have been better if I hadn't given my company so much scope. I wonder what they've been doing. I think I will curtail their discretion, though none of them appear to have much of the article. It seems a pity to deprive them of what little they have. Now then, Daphne, what's the matter with you?
Well, you know how I was supposed to be married to Sparkion. Apollo, then. You told me I was to become his leading lady.
Oh, now look here. I can't go into that. But you're in Olympus now and must behave accordingly. Drop your Daphne. Assume you're Calliope.
So, that's it.
Oh, that is it?
That is it, Thespis. I am Calliope, the muse of fame. Very good. This morning, I was in the Olympian library and I took down the only book that was there. Here it is.
Lampierre's Classical Dictionary. The Olympian Peerage.
Open it at Apollo.
It is done.
Read.
Apollo was several times married, among others, to Issa, Bolina, Coronis, Cymene, Kyrene, Chione, Cochlus, and Calliope.
And Calliope.
I didn't know he was married to all of them.
So, based on this book, shouldn't Apollo be spending his nights with me?
Wait, Apollo, your husband? Please, please take him. He's yours.
I beg your pardon. I won't have anyone giving away my husband that easily. At least put up a fight.
She has a point, nice miss. Very unprofessional to give up so easily.
Well, I too am quite offended.
Look here. Apollo, whose husband are you? Don't let's have any row about it. Whose husband are you?
Upon my honor, I don't know. I'm in a very delicate position, but I'll fall in with any arrangement Thespis may propose.
I've just found out that he is my husband, and yet he goes out every evening with that thing.
Perhaps he's trying an experiment.
I don't like my husband to make such experiments. The question is, who are we and what is our relation to each other?
Thespis, don't we have a dramaturg to sort out such matters?
A what?
Some holiday that was. Why we thought visiting Earth was a good idea is still beyond me.
Say what you will, but this Euro is fantastic.
Yes, the food was fantastic. But unlike the skillfully assembled tzatziki wrap, everything else on Earth has fallen apart. Mercury, explain yourself.
What in the Pluto are you bothering me about?
What are we leaving behind for?
Please, sir. That is the question I asked for when you went away.
Well, was it not that Thespis might consult you whenever she was in a difficulty?
Well, here I've been, ready to be consulted, chock full of reliable information, running over with celestial maxims, advice gratis 10 to 4. After 12, ring the night bell in cases of emergency.
And hasn't she consulted you?
Not she. She disagrees with me on everything.
She must have misunderstood me. I told her to consult you whenever you were in a fix.
Yeah, she must have thought you said insult. Why, whenever I open my mouth, she jumps down my throat. It isn't pleasant to have a madam constantly jumping down your throat, especially when she always disagrees with you. It's just the sort of thing I can't digest.
Send her here. I'll talk to her. Well, madam, the year is up today.
A nice mess you made of it.
You've deranged the whole scheme of society. Oh, there's going to be a row. My dear boy, assure you.
Be respectful when you're speaking to the king of the gods.
My dear man, I don't know what you allude to. With the exception of getting our scene painter to run up this temple because we found the ruins draughty, we haven't touched a thing. The court of Olympus is about to assemble to listen to the complaints of the year, if any, but there are none. Or next to none. Let the Olympians assemble. Oh, just get out here already. Come on, we don't have all day. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems it is usual for the gods to assemble once a year to listen to mortal petitions. It doesn't seem to me to be a good plan, as work is liable to accumulate, but as I am particularly anxious not to interfere with Olympian precedent, but to allow everything to go on as it has always been accustomed to go, why, we'll say no more about it. But how shall I account for your presence?
I say we are gentlemen of the prayers. Yes.
That all our proceedings may be perfectly open and above board, I have communicated with the most influential members of the Athenian press, and beg to introduce to your notice 4 of its most distinguished members. They bear marks emblematic of the anonymous character of modern journalism. Now then, if you're all ready, we will begin.
Yes. Here's the agenda.
What's that? The petitions?
Some of them. I thought there'd be a row about it.
Why? What's wrong now?
Why, it's been a foggy Friday in November for the last 6 months, and the Athenians are tired of it.
There's no pleasing some people. This craving for perpetual change is the curse of the country. Friday's a very nice day.
So it is. But a Friday 6 months long, it gets monotonous.
Why, it's perfectly ridiculous!
It shall be arranged. Simon!
Sir?
Allow me. Father Time, rather young at present, but even time must have a beginning. In course of time, time will grow older. Now then, Father Time, what's this about a wet Friday in November for the last 6 months?
Well, the fact is, I've been trying an experiment. 7 days in the week, it's an awkward number. It can't be halved. I mean, 2 into 7, it won't go.
Quite so. Quite so.
So, I abolished Saturday.
So you abolished Saturday. And how did you find an answer?
Admirably.
You hear? He found an answer admirably.
Yeah. Only, Sunday refused to take its place.
Sunday refused to take its place?
Well, Sunday comes after Saturday, but Sunday won't go on duty after Friday. Sunday's principles are very strict. It's like a whole thing. That's where my experiment sticks.
Well, but why November? Come now. Why November?
Well, I mean, get a load of this. December can't begin until November has finished. But November can't finish because I abolished Saturday. There again, my experiment sticks.
Well, but why wet? Come now, why wet?
Well, that one is your fault. You turned on the rain 6 months ago, and you forgot to turn it off again.
This is monstrous.
The lever for that elbow.
Pray be seated. The liberty of the press, one can't help it. It is easily settled. Athens has had a wet Friday in November for the last 6 months. Let them have a blazing Tuesday in July for the next 12.
No! Can't do that!
Order! Now then, the next article.
Here is a petition from the Peace Society. Oh my god. They complained because there are no more battles.
What? Quiet there. Good dog. Soho, Timidin.
Here.
What's this about there being no battles?
I've abolished battles. It's an experiment.
Oh, come on. You know what I said?
Quiet then! Abolished battles?
Yes. You told us on taking office to remember 2 things. To try experiments and to take it easy. I found I couldn't take it easy while there were any battles to attend to, so I tried the experiment and abolished battles. And then I took it easy. The Peace Society ought to be very much obliged to me.
Obliged to you. Why, confound it. Since battles have been abolished, war is universal.
War universal?
To be sure it is. Now that nations can't fight, no 2 of them are on speaking terms. The dread of fighting was the only thing that kept them civil to each other. Let battles be restored, and peace reign supreme.
Here is a petition from the Associated Wine Merchants of Mytilene.
Well, what's wrong with the Associated Wine Merchants of Mytilene? Are there no grapes this year?
Plenty of grapes, more than usual.
You observe. There is no deception. There are more than usual.
There are plenty of grapes. Only they are full of ginger beer!
Oh, come on! That won't pair well with any fish. I need a Merlot.
Ridiculous.
What? Bacchus!
Here.
There seems to be something unusual with the grapes of Mytilene. They only grow ginger beer.
And a very good thing, too.
Oh, it's very nice in its way, but it is not what one looks for from grapes.
Beloved sir, a week before we came up here, you insisted on my taking the pledge. By doing so, you rescued me from my otherwise inevitable misery. I cannot express my thanks. Embrace me!
Oh, get out! Don't be a fool. Look here. You know you're the god of wine.
I am.
Well, do you consider it consistent with your duty as the god of wine to make the grapes yield nothing but ginger beer?
Do you consider it consistent with my duty as a total abstainer to grow anything stronger than ginger beer?
But your duty as the god of wine.
Every respect in which my duty as the god of wine can be discharged consistently with my duty as a total abstainer, I will discharge it. But when the functions clash, everything must give way to the pledge. Oh, my preserver!
Don't be a confounded fool. This can be arranged. We can't give over the wine this year, but at least we can improve the ginger beer. Let all the ginger beer be extracted from it immediately.
That is enough! Gods, reveal yourselves! Reveal that much, Apollo! Gross! Thespis, it is clear that you have greatly failed in your position as king of the gods. In accordance with tradition, it comes time to sadistically punish you for the rest of eternity.
Ooh, give her the eagle.
Tie her to an endlessly spinning, burning wheel.
Make her give me a recipe for this honey cake.
Wait! You cannot punish me.
Oh, yes. And why is that?
Why, I must play my part all the way through, Jupiter. Think about it. In all of your myths, even when someone else, you are very clearly the one that messed up, someone else gets punished. You cheat on your wife, bam, you turn the other woman into a cow. Annoyed with how humanity lives with your gifts, you wipe them out with a flood. When have you ever had to take responsibility for your actions?
Well, lass, I am only ruling by your decree. Whatever happens to not being hampered by routine and red tape and precedent? It's only fitting that we try something new now.
Huh. That does sound quite fitting.
Rather agreeable.
Yeah, why not? Great idea. I've done so much.
Very logical.
Reasonable of me, isn't it? Then it is decided. Mercury. You've been around this buffoon for far longer than the rest of us. What punishment would you find fitting?
Me?
Yes, you. Even I can admit we screwed you on this one. Perhaps some new blood is what we needed after all. Go on. Make Papa proud.
Oh, I'm honored. I don't know. All right, let's see here. Nice, miss. Come forward.
All right, you nice miss. What's your name again?
Nice miss, sir?
Ah, nice miss. Clever. I found a copy of your play during our vacation. Very whimsical, yes. I especially like the part with the talking trees. Very enjoyable.
Why, thank you.
My thoughts exactly, Jupiter. I hereby cede total and complete control of this theatrical troupe to you, nice miss. It seems it's in better hands this way.
Thank you. I'm honored.
That's my wife!
That was lovely, Mercury. However, Jupiter is still feeling a bit a thunderbolt here. Thespis, eternity and Pluto ceaselessly burning for you. Say hi to Cerberus for me. Well done for punishment, Mercury. Making a positive change instead of simply turning someone into a cow was quite an interesting approach. I never really thought to do that before.
You know, maybe it's something we should try more often.
Maybe indeed. I do, however, have a small pointer. Try being a tad more specific next time. Sure, Nice Miss is in control, but who knows how much damage Thespis has already done to Droma?
Oh, come on, Jupiter. How great could her influence really be? Do you really believe that humanity would still watch the work of some dated, mediocre playwright simply because they were important at their time, when there are new perspectives far more valuable to internalize, available at a moment's notice?
Oh yeah, we did it.
Oh yeah!
Let's go!
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.